Have you ever visited a European city or maybe a Latin American city and noticed something weird? You can walk everywhere. The grocery store is around the corner. The cafe is downstairs. Everything you need is within a 10-minute walk. And then you come back to America and suddenly you need to drive 15 minutes just to buy milk. You need a car to get to work. You need a car to do literally anything. And you think to yourself, why is it like this? Well, the answer isn't what you think. American cities aren't designed this way by accident. They're designed this way on purpose, by specific companies, specific people, and specific laws that are still in effect today. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly who's responsible. Stay with me because this gets really good. First, let's get something clear. American cities weren't always like this. Look at this photo. This is Los Angeles in 1920. See those tracks? Those are streetcar lines. Los Angeles had 1,600 kilometers of streetcar track, the largest electric railway system in the world. You could get anywhere without a car. Now look at this. Same city, 1970. The tracks are gone. The streetcars are gone. In their place, freeways. 6 lanes, 8 lanes, parking lots everywhere. What happened in those 50 years? Who did this? The answer starts with a man named Robert Moses. If you've never heard of him, you need to know this name. Robert Moses was never elected to anything. But between 1930 and 1970, he had more power over New York City than any mayor. He built 13 bridges, 416 miles of highways, and he did something that changed American cities forever. He bulldozed neighborhoods to build freeways straight through the heart of cities. The Cross Bronx Expressway alone destroyed 1,500 buildings and displaced 60,000 people. And here's the thing. Moses specifically chose to route highways through Black and Puerto Rican neighborhoods. When engineers suggested alternative routes, Moses rejected them. He wanted to clear what he called slums. In city after city, highway planners followed his model. If a neighborhood was Black or poor, that's where the highway went. But Robert Moses didn't work alone. He had help from some of the biggest corporations in America. And this is where the story gets wild. In 1936, General Motors, Firestone Tires, and Standard Oil created a company called National City Lines. Their goal? Buy up streetcar systems across America and shut them down. This isn't conspiracy theory. This actually happened. They were convicted in federal court in 1949. Here's how it worked. They'd buy the streetcar company, let the system fall apart, deferred maintenance, broken cars, and then say, see, streetcars don't work. Let's replace them with buses. Buses made by General Motors, running on tires made by Firestone, burning gasoline from Standard Oil. Over 20 years, they did this in more than 45 cities. Los Angeles, Detroit, Philadelphia, Baltimore all lost their streetcars. And once the streetcars were gone, the buses got cut too. Because the real goal wasn't transit. The real goal was to make sure every American had to buy a car. And it worked. But you can't just sell people cars. You have to redesign entire cities to make cars necessary. And that's exactly what happened next. While the highways were being built, something else was happening, something quieter. Cities across America were passing new zoning laws. And these laws made it illegal to build the kind of neighborhoods that existed before 1945. Before World War II, neighborhoods were mixed. Houses, shops, offices, restaurants, all on the same block. A bakery on the ground floor. Apartments above. Everything together. But starting in the 1950s, cities made this illegal. They separated everything. Residential here, commercial there, industrial way over there. This is called Euclidean zoning, and it's still the law today. You cannot build a corner store in a residential neighborhood. You cannot build an apartment above a restaurant. And if everything is separated, you need a car to get between them. But it gets worse. These zoning laws also mandated minimum lot sizes. Your house has to sit on at least a quarter acre. Minimum setbacks. Your house has to be 25 feet from the street. Maximum heights. Nothing taller than 2 stories. These laws guaranteed sprawl, and in over 75% of residential land in American cities, these laws are still in effect. Right now, it is illegal to build dense, walkable neighborhoods in most of America. And then there's parking. Cities required every building to provide parking. Lots of it. A restaurant needs one space for every 3 seats. An apartment building needs 2 spaces per unit. Parking costs between $5,000 and $50,000 per space to build. So, when you force every building to provide parking, everything becomes more expensive and more spread out. That's why strip malls look the way they do. A tiny building in an ocean of asphalt. That's not design. That's the law. Now here's the question. Why? If this is so expensive and inconvenient, why did America do this? And here's where we need to talk about something uncomfortable. Race. After World War II, the federal government created programs to help Americans buy homes. But the FHA had a policy called redlining. Government agents drew maps. Neighborhoods with black residents were marked in red. If your neighborhood was red, you couldn't get a loan. It didn't matter if you had good credit. If you were black, the government said no. White families could get cheap mortgages for suburban houses. Black families could not. So let me be clear. If you're black in 1950, the government tells you, we won't loan you money for a house in the suburbs, but we will build a highway through your neighborhood so white people can commute faster. The suburbs became whiter. The cities became blacker and poorer. This wasn't an accident. This was policy. The result? Today, Americans take 87% of their trips by car. In the Netherlands, it's 45%. In Japan, 38%. Americans spend an average of $12,000 per year per car. For a 2-car family, that's $24,000 a year just to go places. In walkable cities, that money stays in your pocket. And here's the most frustrating part. All these policies are still in effect. Single-family zoning? Still the law. Parking minimums? Still required. Highways through black neighborhoods? Still there. We're living with decisions made 70 years ago. But here comes the part that gives me hope. In 1963, a woman named Jane Jacobs stood in front of bulldozers in Greenwich Village. Robert Moses wanted to build a highway through her neighborhood. Jane Jacobs said no. She organized. They protested, they fought, and they won. The highway was never built. Today, Greenwich Village is one of the most walkable, desirable neighborhoods in America. And that's happening again. In 2018, Minneapolis eliminated single-family zoning. Now, you can build duplexes anywhere. Housing construction is up. San Diego eliminated parking minimums in 2023. Developers are building cheaper apartments. Portland tore down a waterfront highway and replaced it with a park. Property values went up. Rochester, New York is doing the same thing right now. This isn't happening because politicians woke up nice. It's happening because people are demanding it. Young people tired of car payments, families who want walkable neighborhoods, they're showing up to city council meetings, they're voting, they're making noise. Let's go back to the beginning. Why are American cities designed to make you drive? Because between 1930 and 1970, Robert Moses bulldozing neighborhoods, General Motors destroying streetcars, federal redlining policies, zoning laws banning density, and parking requirements transformed cities from walkable places into car-dependent sprawl. It was designed by specific people for profit and to keep black Americans out of white neighborhoods. But if it was designed, it can be redesigned. Paris just closed the Champs-Élysées to cars. Barcelona is removing cars from entire neighborhoods. Even Los Angeles is building metro lines and bike lanes. It's happening. The next time you're stuck in traffic or paying $80 for gas, remember this. There's an entire developed world where this isn't necessary, where people live full lives without owning a car. Not because they're richer, because they don't have the laws we have. They made different choices, and we can too. So here's my question. If your city allowed corner stores in neighborhoods tomorrow, if they made walkable places legal again, would you support it or fight it? Because that fight is happening right now in city councils everywhere. And whichever side wins determines what American cities look like for the next 50 years. If this opened your eyes, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. See you in the next one.